This could be easy or it could be difficult because it's Cowboys win because Cowboys lose because. And remember, you have to give an answer for both. I'm curious if, I don't know, I said it like that. I'm curious if.
Curious?
Yeah, I don't know why.
My name's Corey,
yes.
and I can see how that would happen.
I'm curious what people come up with for the loss from the 4-6-9. Cowboys win because Washington is tanking for a quarterback. I agree with that. I just think they're not good in general as well, and I just think you've seen that intensify over maybe like the last 3 weeks. I have a Cowboys win and Cowboys lose because would you guys like me to go first?
Before you do that,
okay.
I'm also curious about whether or not, like, how far do you want to get CeeDee Lamb bigger numbers? Do you want to pad some stats before the season's over, and how intense, like how focused they are on that? I'm just listening to Mike McDaniel talk about things on the sideline as he's calling plays.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, man, once we got down there and didn't get that touchdown, I knew that I was going to get Mostert a touchdown on the next play. And so I'm always curious about like how the Cowboys are going to approach this when it comes to stats and what's going to matter there. Because if CeeDee Lamb wants to be paid like the number one wide receiver in the league, you want to try and give him the numbers to prove it.
I'm really conflicted on this because on the one hand, I bet he doesn't think that anymore because he got Bradley Chubb hurt that way.
Oh, yeah?
And so he's already said that's something he regrets. So I'm conflicted because on one hand, I know what Jerry said is, hey, we just need to win this game. Doesn't matter what it looks like. To me, I guess it does.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they've been so good at home, they've not looked great the last 3 weeks, and especially the offense. I would love to see, I'm not saying just a stat pad, but I would love to see this game naturally break out to like a 34-7 type flow or something like that by the end of the third quarter.
End of the first quarter.
Oh, that would be great too. Just so I could be like, all right, I know it wasn't against a great team, but it was on the road, and our offense looked good.
And, Mike, I
don't
know,
think they stat pad at all.
I don't know. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask also. Like, I don't know how often players are sitting there going, man, I need 220 yards this week.
Yeah.
Versus, man, I just want to make that one play right now that embarrasses the cornerback I'm
One
up
thing
against.
that we
I
don't know, to your point, we don't know inside contracts. So if I need to play a certain amount of snaps for a $250,000 bonus, players definitely want
Sure.
that. So there are certain things that players are concerned about because literally there's a bonus on that. I think you only stat pad at the end, and the Cowboys aren't in any of this situation, is if something historic is on the line. 2,000 receiving yards, 2,000 rushing yards, all-time leading touchdown pass, touchdown passes in a year. There's nothing on the line like that for the Cowboys.
So then I hear what you're saying. I just want to make sure. The only person who's ever done it is Roger Staubach. You don't think they're trying to get Dak?
No, not at all. I don't think
Okay.
he cares that
Okay.
much. I think they care about winning.
Sure.
I think if this was you're about to beat, and I'm sorry, it's probably Tom Brady, like Tom Brady's all-time record for career touchdown passes, or I don't know if Tom Brady has that one too. Is it maybe Drew Brees? All-time touchdown passes in a single season. Yes,
Peyton.
that
Yeah.
becomes historic. Literally nobody knew till you told us about Roger Staubach, and I don't think Dak really probably knows unless you were in the and maybe you were in there. I'm not saying you were. Somebody in there, Todd Archer, put a microphone in front of Dak's face and said, "Did you know?" And Dak's gonna be like, "Had no effing clue," and don't really care. But I guess like that would be cool to be a part of. But they would know if they needed 2,000 yards for a very historic something. So I don't think anything historic is on the line to try to keep somebody in there longer.
No, I think that is great insight. From the 214, Cowboys win if Dak scores 3 touchdowns and the defense scores 1. That actually sounds like a combination that would probably make me feel pretty good about the game. And the Cowboys lose if they run more than 25 times. I'm assuming in this instance that's the Cowboys is the they.
Okay, Cowboys lose because?
You want to go with that one first? Let's do it.
All right. Well, They're taking the J.B. Hunt 18-wheeler to Washington, D.C.
Is that thing still there?
No, it's actually, I think, in the parking lot here.
Nice.
I think they moved it to the parking lot here.
You get a wireless and go
so
out there and help them?
Probably.
An Axis breaks or something, and the Arlington police have to try to, clear it out, and they just don't make the game on time.
Okay.
I think if they show up,
They're
they
gonna
win
win
the game.
Okay.
That being said, it's hard for me to see them losing this game. It was hard for me to see them losing the Arizona game, but if you do go back, I'm not saying they should have lost, but they did have 3 of 5 starting offensive linemen out that game. Now, you do have Tyler Smith out this game, it sounds like.
It is kind of sounding like that.
But that means 4 of your 5 guys are going to be out there.
I believe that will be the case.
So if you just look at Hankins is supposed to be out there this week,
it's looking good for him, better than it is for Tyler.
So I know Diggs isn't coming back or Vander Esch is coming back. You weren't expecting them to come back. But you are pretty healthy going into this game. I know you haven't, in a weird way, you have not played well in 3 weeks. It's been 3 weeks of, at best, average football for the Cowboys. But even if they play average against this team, they'll win by 10 or more.
And so what I came up with, Cowboys lose because – and I had to go big picture. That's the only way I could figure out the way they lose this game is their struggles on the road. The Cowboys are 3-5 away from AT&T Stadium. So they're third in the NFL in points per game, 29.4, which is very impressive. On the road, it's only 21.5. So it takes so when we were talking about, because it's 37.4, 37.5, I think it's 37.4 at home. So when we talk about the splits between home and road and why you so desperately want that number 2 seed, that's why. But that is how I could see them losing.
But, Kevin, the last game they played at home, they only scored 20 points.
That is true.
And they won. Therefore, if they get to 21.5 in this game, they should technically win that one as well. So I'm just going to go on that front.
I do think if they get to 21.5, they will win this game.
Yeah.
And if
I don't know how they're going to score that half point, but it's
something bad has really, really happened in this.
Cowboys win because I think Dak Prescott goes out there and puts it away by halftime. I really do think by halftime.
How many points is that?
I'm saying we're putting it 28 points in the first half.
Okay.
That's a lot of work, but I think there's going to be some interceptions early in this game because I think Eric Bieniemy wants to prove like his mettle too, Kevin. Like I think whenever it comes to potential head coaches for this job, I think that Ron Rivera could be out. Maybe Eric Bieniemy is being looked at. I don't know if that's the reality there, but I think that that's kind of always been something that could be in place. And so he gets that opportunity. I think he wants to let it fly. And the Cowboys, they love when the ball's in the air. So I think Cowboys win because they put up too many points at halftime.
And you said you think 3 picks?
Yeah, 3 interceptions.
I'm going Cowboys win because, man, you're talking about Washington's ability to turn the ball over offensively. Their defense is awful. They rank 32nd in scoring defense.
And they're without one of their best defenders.
Yes, they give up 30 points a game. They're 32nd in total defense. They're 31st in average yards given up per play. Every metric you look at by this Washington defense, they are horrid. And so I think you should be able to destroy them offensively.
This is arguably the worst team in Week 18 in the NFL because if I look at Carolina, I'm not saying they're good. They're horrible.
Yes.
But Bryce Young is playing to get better.
Yes.
And I'm not saying Sam Howell isn't, but Sam Howell's career's over after this game's over as a starting quarterback. He will have to regain a job.
It feels like that is the
case.
case.
As an injury happens, right? I mean, I hate saying this, but this is what we hope for when we're kind of AAA players or backups. You're like, you're not going, I hope he gets hurt, but you know that person has to get hurt for your next opportunity. Kurt Warner in St. Louis. I'm not saying that that's going to happen for Sam Howell, but this is it. This is the last time he's ever going to start an NFL football game without there being an injury. And now maybe he regains a starting job because he plays well in that situation. But Bryce Young, they're still trying to develop him. They're still trying to put together plays on Sunday for him to try to be successful. I feel like in this one, it's like, just play this MFer out and let's go home.
I just wanted to address this real quick because I see it from the 806-817-972. What about Trey Lance? I don't care or want to see anything from Trey Lance in this game because I want to see Cooper Rush in this game because you might need, hopefully you don't,
Right.
but you could potentially need him in the playoffs. It's not Trey Lance time.
No, Cooper Rush hasn't played in, I don't know when, but it's been a long time. I guess he might have played him against Buffalo, like at the end or whatever. But if for some reason you get the whole fourth quarter that you're up by over 20 points and you give Cooper Rush, I don't know, 13 snaps, I wouldn't just hand the ball off. I'd hand the ball off some to make sure, but I would run kind of
get a couple drives
an
going.
Offense, because if for some reason Dak gets hit and he has to miss, let's just say a drive in a playoff game, like he's just not ready to go back in for a drive, that's a drive that you'd like to still try to put up points or change the field position, so that would give Cooper Rush a little bit of work in a real football game.
I think you guys will get a kick out of this one from the 817. Cowboys win because Dak beats up on an NFC East opponent like usual. Cowboys lose because they accidentally go to Washington State.
Oh, man, my buddy that is an idiot.
Isn't that what started my buddy's an idiot?
Yeah, my buddy argued with me that the Commanders at the time named something else played in the state of Washington, and I was like, they just showed a shot of the Washington Monument. And he was like, that's in Washington. I was like, buddy,
TV's confused.
Come on, man. Hey, I do have a question. This is Shout Out Friday as well, too. I have a question. Should myself and my son Avery, or maybe even the whole family, go to Plano East, Plano West tonight? Was that something later on in the show?
No.
Plano East is playing Plano West, Mike, and it is Jimmy King night at Plano East. So they're going to be honoring him, and Plano East is currently ranked number 1 in the state, number 4 in the country.
And they just beat, I think, number 2 in the state at a tournament this past weekend. One of my buddy Matt was reporting about
Round
that.
Rock Stony Point.
Yes. And at a tournament, and they are excellent.
Are they a good team?
Yes.
Like, Kevin, you and I watched some really good high school basketball
You can't be
teams.
number 4 in the nation.
They are really, really good.
Okay. Not a good team.
I think I might go to this game tonight, though, on Jimmy King
Who
night.
are you going to cheer for?
I'm just going to be neutral because
You're going to wear maroon
I'm Plano
there?
Central.
I saw Jimmy King play against Duncanville at SMU.
Jimmy, he's not playing tonight, Mike.
I know,
he
but
won't play in this game.
I'm just telling you,
he doesn't
this
have
guy
any more,
who we've had on our station, who's a big Tolo,
who's not Mavs man.
He is not Mavs man. We learned that the hard way, didn't we?
He's a good guy, but he also lost to Duncanville.
Also,
is that why you remember that? Because you're like, I remember all the people who.
I remember it being a very big deal because 2 All-Americans were playing against each other, Jimmy King and Greg Ostertag. And it was at SMU, so it seemed like as a kid a really big deal that a high school basketball game's at SMU. And there's this kid that they're like, this is one of the best players in the country. He's going to Michigan. And he was very good in that game. He wasn't bad. And then you have this 7-footer in the game, too. So it was a really, cool game to be at.
Also, shout out to Brian's daughter, Marissa, who is heading off Monday for her trip to Tokyo Disneyland, where she will be a princess. At, Disneyland, Tokyo. So shout out to her. Best of luck. Have a lot of fun.
Yeah, she worked her way up to that. I remember that story.
I wonder how different Disneyland Tokyo is to Disneyland California.
Let's go look it up, man.
I just wonder if you go to Disney World, Disneyland Tokyo, how different are the Disneylands?
You know what? They actually have.
We should do a show trip.
If you resubscribe to Disney Plus, they have a breakdown of all these different rides and stuff. And they, I was watching a thing about Haunted Mansion, because that was not the Haunted Mansion, the movie, but a documentary about it. And they talked about how different they are at all the different Disney amusement parks. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, let's talk to the boss and see if we can get a show trip to Disneyland Tokyo, because we got a Tolo's daughter that's a princess there. That's our connection.
Our phones don't even work.
Okay. Mike, they worked today. That's what bailed them out of being in Forgiveness Friday.
Everything was fine. I'm sure it'll be all right.
How do they work and then not work?
I don't know, Mike. I don't know.